Hi, everyone. It is amazing to be here. I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm really honored to be here to address Local First. But what I didn't anticipate is how moved I would be. Now, I have to warn you, I'm a bit of a crier. Like, we go into movies, doesn't matter what the movie is, and the kids are like, okay, please don't cry, like the loud cry. But I'm a bit of a crier. But at the last panel, which was on social equity, I really couldn't hold back the tears. I mean, the stories that I'm hearing today are really, sincerely so moving. And the depth of the work that's going on here is what's really impressive to me. But so I'm really actually honored and quite humbled to be here, hearing all really the very real work you all are doing. I'd like to thank Megan for so patiently working with me these last few months and doing such a great job in making all the necessary arrangements, and all the staff and the board of Local First. I'm also excited to be in Grand Rapids and have an opportunity to see this city that I'm hearing so many great things about. And now I have to come back and eat for 3 days because everyone keeps saying, are you going to eat there? Are you going to eat there? It just sounds like there's so much amazing food. I have to make a food trip back here. When Megan first told me that Local First had 600 businesses, I literally thought that I misheard. Like 600 businesses? I mean, I hope you guys realize what an amazing tribute that is to your shared vision, to your shared values, to your work ethic, and your commitment to living a life bigger than yourselves. I mean, I live in Detroit, the biggest city in the state. We don't even have a local business organization, much less of 600 members. So it's really great what you have here, and I'd like to give yourself a little hand for doing what you do. And it's all well and good, it's all nice and kumbaya, but it's also really good business. By banding together, you can use your resources to make all of you better, more competitive businesses and leverage access to assets, goods and services that you wouldn't be able to access on your own. And this is how you'll stay competitive in the face of big box businesses. And these relationships are also how you're going to make your businesses more sustainable for yourselves. So I spent some time in Grand Rapids about 20 years ago. And I'm thinking a lot of you might be a little young to remember this, but I was on something called the Michigan Peace March. Is anyone? They got nothing. Okay. Well, in the summer of 1985, anywhere from 20 to 200 of us walked from Mackinac Island to Detroit for 3 months. And we were talking about nuclear disarmament and social justice. I don't know that we really slowed down the nuclear arms race, but we did weave together an amazing community that exists to this day. And in some ways, I think it's the seeds of the community that's here and in Detroit. So it's very gratifying to be here 20 years later, talking to a group of like-minded entrepreneurs who are working together for an equally lofty goal. So, creating a just and sustainable world by creating a just and sustainable business. Pretty lofty. But I'm not here to tell you, now especially that I've heard these panels, I'm not here to tell you anything you don't already know. What I'm here to do is share my story with you. Hopefully, I can inspire you a little bit, but mostly what I want to do is remind you of your own truths. Mostly, you know everything I'm going to say, and I think a lot of times we just all need the confidence to just blow forward and do what we know is right. I hope that in doing this, I can help make you a little more effective as business owners and also as agents of social change. So looking back on Avalon's 15-year history, I didn't graduate from college in 97. I started the bakery in 97, but it would have been nice if I graduated college in 97. But I'd like to share 3 principles with you that have helped us create a just and sustainable business that I hope is helping to create a just and sustainable world. So these 3 principles of sustainable business are vision, values, and evaluation. I tried to make it 3 V's, but it's kind of 2 V's and an E. So vision, what's a vision? So a vision is the specific way that your business fits into the whole. Your vision is the thing you see at night when you're almost asleep, but not quite. The vision is the thing that no matter what happens, nobody can convince you of otherwise. The vision is probably the place that you never reach, and it's the thing that doesn't exist yet. Your vision can also be written and rewritten because it's never quite attainable, but you're always getting closer. The vision is the reason you're here. The vision is your North Star. So the Avalon vision. In 1997, we came up with this vision that we are a socially responsible and environmentally conscious bread bakery in the Cass Corridor of Detroit that serves the businesses, residents, workers, and visitors of the neighborhood. So this vision was very important for us because in 1997, when we opened the bakery, Detroit was, in fact, a pretty dreary place. And Midtown, which we used to call Cass Corridor, and now they have branded Midtown, but we still call the Cass Corridor, was a little bit drearier. So 12 years of very harsh economic federal policies had basically unraveled the social safety net for the most vulnerable. And a few more years of some very conservative state policies had basically dismantled them. And this in a neighborhood where we have a very high concentration of social service agencies. So the mental health institutions basically just overnight just shut down. And it was so bad the winter before we opened that 1 block south of us, there were 300 people sleeping outside in tents in the middle of the winter because there were so many homeless people that a church had to actually put up tents to be able to accommodate them. And yet, I could see this in my mind's eye. So does anyone here have Ann Arbor roots, remember Wildflower Bakery? Anyone? So Wildflower Bakery was a great co-op bakery right next to the People's Food Co-op on 4th Avenue. And Annie and Paul were the founders. And I can see it right now. Annie with her long braid, her long skirt, chewing on fresh garlic first thing in the morning as the sun's coming up. And I remember thinking, now this is an honest way to make a living. But it wasn't the way I was going to make a living because I was very busy changing the world. I was protesting, and in between, I would go to classes. When I graduated from college, I moved to Detroit to follow the legendary Detroit activist James and Grace Boggs to follow their vision of rebuilding Detroit from the ground up. And when I got to know Detroit a little bit, I shopped at the Cass Corridor Food Co-op. Now this was a windowless building, pretty much 2,000 square feet of cinder block that did $1 million a year. I mean, this place was pretty funky and not so much in a good way, and yet there's people coming and going all the time, obviously pent-up demand. And I wasn't a business person, but I could see that. Worse than that, or more than that, I was getting bread that was 3 days old. Why? Because it was from Wildflower Bakery in Ann Arbor, and they only delivered to Detroit 2 days a week. So I can see it right away. It's going to be next to the co-op, just like in Ann Arbor, and it's going to be an oasis in a world that's very challenging and sometimes very depressing. And even in, I think maybe what's a uniquely Detroit moment, I have a brainstorm while driving up the expressway, that this is going to be called Avalon. So years later, when Avalon co-founder Ann Peralt and I are talking about starting a venture together, she says, okay, let's just do that bakery you always talk about. And Avalon was born. Now, Ann and I had a similar vision of Detroit. We saw a city where vacant land would be used to grow food for the people, where small businesses would emerge out of the community to meet their own needs. Our mentor, James Boggs, used to say, it was just graduating from college, so it was great, don't wait for the man to make your job. Bake your bread, fix your bike, fix your own shoes. So we took him literally. As we could see Avalon's role in this new Detroit as well, we would buy our produce from these wonderful gardens that were existing all over the city. But there's something very powerful and important about putting that vision into words. So the vision, a vision statement, and I really, even if you have been existing for 25 years and you don't have a vision statement, I really invite you to go back and create one. Because there's something very powerful about translating an inner vision that might just be one person, might be two. If you're a larger business, it might be a team of people, into an outer experience that can engage employees, stakeholders, and customers. Now the content may change. So we became a bread bakery that also serves sweets, and we also have lots of coffee, and now we do sandwiches, and now we do breakfast. but the vision, the overall vision stays the same.